want to begin with Secretary of State Antony Blinken's trip to China, the first U.S. diplomatic mission there in 5 years. Margaret is in Beijing. Margaret, it looks like good evening to you.
It is, Bob, and good morning to you. Here in Beijing, more than 5.5 hours worth of talks between Secretary Blinken and his Chinese counterpart concluded. They were very direct, they were very candid, but frankly, it's good that they were talking at all. Bob, one of the U.S. officials in the room told me there was at least one point of agreement, and that was to stop the downward spiral in this relationship. But it is clear they still have profound differences.
Secretary Blinken and Foreign Minister Qin Gang, a close ally of President Xi Jinping, tackled a long list of grievances. The U.S. goal? Open communication channels to avoid a military clash. Tension spiked last summer when then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. And again in February after the spy balloon shoot-down. Now President Biden wants to move on.
I don't think the leadership knew where it was, knew what minute, knew what I think it was more embarrassing.
Beijing objects to the U.S. military presence in the Pacific. China's defense chief refuses to speak with U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin at a time when Beijing is massively expanding its nuclear arsenal.
The door is open, and my phone line is open.
Miscommunication risks a clash. Last month, a Chinese warship came within 150 feet of slamming into an American ship transiting the Taiwan Strait. And in the South China Sea, a Chinese fighter jet buzzed the U.S. Air Force. The divide runs deeper than a failure to communicate. Blinken also pressed authorities to crack down on the flow of fentanyl. That drug is now the #1 killer of Americans under the age of 50. Beijing has its own motivations to meet. It wants investments to continue to flow as its economy is slowing. The recent Biden administration decision to cut off the sale of some advanced technology and high-end computer chips is causing concern.
Secretary Blinken will have a working dinner with his Chinese counterpart tonight, and tomorrow he plans to meet with a top party official who oversees foreign policy. All of these meetings really an intense push to try to hit restart on this relationship. Bob?
Margaret, speaking of a restart, what do both sides hope to achieve from these meetings, and will there be deliverables?
Expectations have been set very low for actual achievements in terms of deliverables, as they call them in Washington. But we know that here in Beijing, the ultimate hope may be for a face-to-face meeting between President Xi and President Biden this fall, perhaps as soon as September, or at a key conference in California this coming November. So all of this may be building up to that meeting between the two leaders of the world's most powerful economies. In the meantime, it is that economic interest that is also of chief concern here. The U.S. and Chinese economies are so intertwined. There's interest in lowering tension to alleviate some of that nervousness in the business community. And we also know that when it comes to concern about technology and investment, the U.S. wants to continue that flow between both countries and wants to tamp down some of the concern going into this next year. But fundamentally here, President Biden believes that this country of China is the only one in the world that has both the power and the intent to change the global order. This is about competition.
Margaret, will Secretary Blinken meet with Xi Jinping?
Bob, that meeting may depend on these next 24 hours and how they go. But arrangements are being made for President Xi to meet with Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, who has been a key aide to President Biden over his many years in the Senate and in the White House. So this is an important face-to-face to lay the groundwork for that possible presidential summit.
Margaret, thank you.